Afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm, of course, your host, Armando Vindidi. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you happen to be watching this. It's a nice Sunday afternoon here in Edmonton, Alberta. Nice, warm, sunny day. And I hope wherever you guys are, if it's warm, you're keeping cool. If it's wet, you're keeping dry. And most importantly, you're looking after yourselves and one another. In this episode of the Music Den, I'm going to be doing another installment of In the Spotlight. This is where I take a band, either well-known or not so well-known, and I take an album of theirs, also either well-known or not so well-known, and I basically shine a spotlight on it because I feel that there are certain albums that people should discover or should know about, and they should be talked about more. And this is such the case. And in doing so, hoping that you guys discover new music, not to be too preachy, but I also believe that when you think that you know all there is to know about music, you're pretty much done. You might as well just say, okay, I'm finished. I don't need to listen to any more new music. I don't need to discover any more music. I know all there is to know. That's impossible because there's always new music to discover. This is such the case. So I will be discussing and discovering with you a band from Toronto. And I do have my notes. So if I read from my notes, you'll have to forgive me. I'm an old man. Okay. They're a band from Toronto, formed in the mid-70s. The band is FM. And the album I'm going to be talking about is their debut release from 1978, Black Noise. FM were formed in Toronto in 1976 as a duo, featuring Cameron Hawkins on bass, synthesizers, and vocals and effects, and one Jeff Pluman on electric violin, mandolin, backing vocals, and effects. They quickly added a drummer, Martin Deller, who provided drums, percussion, and synthesizers. Okay. Jeff Pluman would go on to adopt the stage name Nash the Slash. And what was unique about Nash the Slash was you never saw his face. He basically wrapped himself up from the neck all over his head in hospital gauze. He wore sunglasses and he sometimes wore a top hat. He wore many different hats when he was on stage performing. But it gave the band a bit of a mystique. It set themselves apart from what was going on in the local music scene in Toronto. And yeah, it created a stir, basically, because you never knew what he looked like. On YouTube, there is video of FM performing with Nash the Slash in proper face. He's not done up in any hospital gauze. He is wearing sunglasses. He does have long hair. So you really, you see his face, but you don't see what his eyes look like. So Black Noise was produced by Keith Whitting. Some CD editions list FM as a co-producer, but he basically produced the album himself. Black Noise, as you saw from the album cover images I put up, the original album cover was a close-up shot, black and white shot, of a manhole cover. It was quickly reissued with a different cover, a drawing of an individual looking out into space, pointing, basically looking to maybe discover new worlds, new planets, new civilizations. And you know what? The music on this album does fit the second printing of the cover. It really does. This album was released in the US on Passport Records, which kind of fits because Passport Records were known for releasing jazz fusion artists. The album has been reissued on different labels, two different labels, Vista. I also have the reissue of this album on Esoteric Records. The band has been signed to different labels throughout their careers: CBC, Duke Street, MCA. And they've been tagged with different labels, musical labels, pop, rock. They went into more of a pop field in the mid 80s. And they had one hit in Canada with a track called Just Like You from 1985. This was when Nash the Slash rejoined the group. Unfortunately, Nash the Slash passed away, I believe, in 2017 due to a heart attack. One other notable member of the band that has come and gone is well-known Toronto musician and producer Ben Mink. Now, Ben Mink has worked with people such as Murray McLaughlin, K.D. Lang most prominently, and he has produced albums for Heart. Ben Mink is also a fantastic violinist, multi-instrumentalist. But getting back to Black Noise, which is why we're here. Black Noise, released in 1978, was given the title of progressive rock, jazz fusion, space rock. I would put it under the title of more jazz fusion and space rock than progressive rock. It was released alongside albums. The debut from Saga was released in 78. You had other artists like Rush, who released Hemispheres in 1978. And, Hemispheres having the sidelong epic of Cygnus Book 2. Along with, on the album, you had La Villa Strangiato and the track The Trees. Saga had their debut release with songs like How Long, The Perfectionist, and they're also listed as a progressive rock outfit with using keyboards predominantly. So Black Noise kind of got lost in the shuffle, I tend to think. The lead-off single and lead-off track on Black Noise was a track called Phasers on Stun. Now, that song was released as a single in the US and Canada. It garnered more attention in Canada than the US, unfortunately. But the one theme throughout Black Noise for me is futuristic. Futuristic has to be the one word that is common throughout this entire album, because you have a lot of swirling keyboard textures and effects. You have a lot of use of violin mixed in with keyboard melody lines. They're done together. They're sometimes double tracking keyboard lines and violin lines together, melody lines. I'm going to read you my notes from the album that I wrote down. Phasers on Stun. Fantastic track. I think it's the best track on the album. One of the best, if not the best track on the album. It has a delayed effect using going from the right to the left channel, using the mandolin on the intro. And it has some spacey, I call them spacey treated vocals. It's pretty much bathed in synthesizers on this track. It is the most pop-oriented track on the album. It's unfortunate that this track did not cross over into the US. Next track of note on the album is 1 O'Clock Tomorrow, which heavy use of keyboards, good double tracking again on the on the melody lines. There is a change in time signature at 253, at the 253 point in the track, into a swing arrangement. Vocal passages split between the left and the right channels on this track, so it's very spacey. It's like you're taken away on a journey on this track. It's fantastic. The next track is one of 3 instrumentals on the album, Hours. It's an instrumental track. Nice use of violin on this track. It is a jazz fusion influenced track, and Martin Deller does a good drum solo, drum fill on this track. Beautiful, beautiful. Journey comes next, and with a wonderful ethereal vocal from Cameron Hawkins on this track. Basically, this track is washed in keyboards, like wall-to-wall keyboard effects, synthesizers. There was a nice panning effect that is used on this album. Skyby said that this album, the keyboards and synthesizers are the main instrument that is used on this album. The vocals are there, you can hear them, but I don't want to say that they're washed out on this album, but they're not as prominent as they could be in the mix, right? But again, Cameron Hawkins, fantastic vocalist. He has a more of an ethereal type of a vocal approach, I feel, on this album. And carrying on, the next track is another, this was the B-side to Phasers on Stun. Another instrumental called Dialing for Dharma. Interesting titles for these tracks. Dialing for Dharma is a nice, nice keyboard split of both left and right channels. This is one of the first tracks where I think they use like an ARP synthesizer effect. The ARP synthesizer has a very distinct sound, much like the Rickenbacker bass, which is used on this album, has a very distinct sound. The ARP also has a very sort of distinct, sharp sound when you use it. Other artists that have used it are on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John, also The Who and Quadrophenia, they've used it. So it's also used on this album, and especially on this track, Dialing for Dharma. What other notes here? Another instrumental track is the third instrumental track is Slaughter in Robot Village, which is, again, another instrumental. It has a kind of the intro has a futuristic battle effect, like battle sound effects. And it's almost like, and you hear sound effects of like a robot marching once they land on the planet, and they kind of march to go find other people that they either need to recruit or destroy. And the track finishes with there's a, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The track has a change in tempo to more like a funky passage, and there's a good use of a Rickenbacker bass. There's also dueling synth passages on this track from the left and right channel almost, and at the end of the track, it almost sounds like there's like an explosion happening, and you really don't know what happened with this battle, whether the robots won or they lost. So you almost kind of think that they won with the way it sounds to me, anyways. The next track is it's called Aldebaran. Very interesting track. Same use of mandolin on the intro as was used on Phasers on Stun. There isn't that use of delay from the right to the left channel. It's the same mandolin effect used on this track. There again, this track is bathed in synthesizers, and the lyrics deal with discovering new worlds, like traveling and wandering and discovering new civilization. Sorry, I can't even say the word. It's been one of those days. New worlds to discover, new people. There is a wonderful percussion overdub that Martin Deller does on this track. And it's got to be said, I mean, there are funky elements too on these tracks. The last track, the title track, clocks in, the longest track, it clocks in at 9 minutes and 55 seconds, called Black Noise. And the intro has a beautiful, almost like percussion overdubs, like percussion intro. And it's very rhythmic drumming, almost like African rhythms on this track, which is quite interesting. Nice use of atmospheric keyboards. There's also a good violin passage that comes in. Good mix of violin and keyboard passages that are twinned together, that do the same melody line on this track. Other good things about this track, other things to know. There's a long instrumental breakdown where it's very ethereal, very like spacey, and there's a good use of violin and keyboards that are intertwined on this track, and it goes for like about 2 minutes. It's got to be 1 minute 30 seconds to 2 minutes, where all you hear are violin mixed with keyboard passages and swirling, almost like you're in outer space. Yeah, it goes for about 2 minutes. At the 7 minute and 17-second mark of the track, it changes into a funky Moog passage. Funky as all get out, I swear to God. And there is, on the end of the track, good use of Rickenbacker bass. The Rickenbacker bass has a very, like the ERP, like I said, the ERP synthesizer has a very distinct sound. Basically, you can tell when someone is using a Rickenbacker bass. It is that distinct. It is very distinct, very prominent, very noticeable. Aside from Cameron Hawkins, other people who have used the Rickenbacker bass are Geddy Lee from Rush, and Geddy Lee's inspiration, Chris Squire from Yes. He had used the Rickenbacker bass quite early on in Yes's recordings. So basically, that is the album, Black Noise. Again, fantastic album. Clocks in at just over 40 minutes, not very long. I know that there are some people out there that say, oh, albums are too long if they're like over 60 minutes. I think that's bullshit. I think that if the album is good, if the music is good, then the music will carry you through however long the album is. But again, that's just my very humble opinion. So guys, please check out this album, Black Noise by FM. It is on YouTube. You can stream it, listen to it, and then you can find it on YouTube. No, sorry, for streaming, YouTube on streaming. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Discogs. You can find it on eBay. I found my copy, my esoteric release at HMV, and I paid like $16 for it. So this album really doesn't go for that much in terms of pricing. So please discover this and let me know down below what you think. Do you like this album? Do you not like this album? Have you heard of NASA Slash? Have you heard of FM? So again, please let me know what you think, and click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. I just recorded a very lengthy episode of the Music Den with Peter Kent from the Lizard King channel. We just did a Queen ranking the albums version 2.0, and that's going to be airing on Thursday on the 20th. I'm going to be doing some more ranking the albums. I'm going to be doing a ranking the albums of Nazareth, of April Wine, of Saga, of Ozzy Osbourne. I just started doing an Ozzy Osbourne ranking. this morning while I was in the shower. So I get some good ideas when I'm in the shower. So again, please let me know what you think of FM Black Noise down there. And I hope you guys are looking after yourselves and each other. And I will see you soon with a brand new video. Bye for now.